Lokoz boxing. Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson is stated to happen for April 30th to fight for a super featherweight unification. It is projected to happen on April 30th at the MGM in Las Vegas, Nevada. When we last saw Oscar Valdez's performance against Robson Conceição, things were controversial. Whether you agree with his victory or not, I think everybody can agree that it wasn't his best performance. On top of that, there was the controversy of the failed VADA test. Now, we look at Shakur Stevenson, his last fight against Herring. He was able to get the victory on that fight. However, one of the pieces of criticism that could be offered from the fans on Shakur Stevenson's last fight and on a majority of his fights is that it was quite a boring fight, and he usually gives a very boring performance by pulling back after he punches and basically playing it safe throughout the whole fight. With that all being said, obviously Shakur Stevenson's fight went a lot better for him than Oscar Valdez's previous fight. Even though he still won, he struggled to win, and the win was controversial. For this fight, there's going to be quite a disadvantage for Oscar Valdez as far as height. Shakur Stevenson is about 5'8", versus Oscar Valdez is about 5'5", if not 5'5.5". Shakur Stevenson also has the reach advantages. As far as his reach goes, he's about 69 inches in reach versus Valdez is 66 inches in reach. Will this be an exciting fight? Will this be a good fight? Although I hope it will be an exciting fight, Shakur Stevenson kind of has a habit of playing it too safe and making the fights boring. Now this is criticism that comes from fans. From a boxer's perspective, whatever you can do to win, I mean, that's your goal. If people think that Shakur Stevenson's performance is boring, including myself, that's probably not very concerning for Shakur Stevenson, since he's out there to get the victory. So for him, he doesn't care if he's boring. He just wants to win. And I completely understand that. However, for me, if I'm paying for a fight or I'm paying for a service to watch a fight, Shakur Stevenson would not be the type of fighter that I would normally continue supporting or following or paying for those fights if he were to put boring performances on a regular basis. Moving on from that, I would actually be very excited for this fight to happen, and I would definitely be watching it. You're basically going to have a power puncher versus a slick boxer. This type of fighter becomes real difficult to deal with from Oscar Valdez's perspective, where he tries to be in the middle between power and boxing. And he usually does try to give a better performance by knocking out his opponents and taking necessary risk when possible. Usually these type of fights end up where the power puncher ends up chasing the technical slick boxer during the 12 rounds in the ring and ends up losing by decision because the other fighter was able to get a little punch and run away, come back, punch and run away, while the power puncher is trying to engage in action-packed fight and then end it early. With Eddie Reynoso being in Oscar Valdez's corner, I don't think that Oscar Valdez would fall into that trap, or at least he would not be instructed to just try to knock out Shakur Stevenson and chase him for 12 rounds while sacrificing all the rounds hoping for a knockout. I really don't foresee Eddie Reynoso instructing Oscar Valdez to go about it that way. I don't feel like Shakur Stevenson really needs to make too much adjustments for this fight, because he likes to play it safe and it's worked out for him so far, where he punches and pulls back. In other words, he fights in reverse. I don't really think he's going to try to change it up. Oscar Valdez, he will have to change it up, and Eddie Reynoso is going to come up with a game plan that differs from Oscar Valdez's usual fight style against other fighters. Eddie Reynoso's pretty good at switching up the game plan depending on the opponent that his fighter faces. So going forward with this, I know that there is a lot of people who are not thrilled about Oscar Valdez, who are still upset or disappointed or angry that the VADA test was not passed on his previous fight. But I'm almost 100% sure that Oscar Valdez is going to ask for a VADA test for this fight to try to prove himself. And I'm almost 100% sure that Shakur Stevenson is going to want a VADA test for this fight to make sure that Oscar Valdez isn't really on some shit. If the VADA test is passed in this fight, then there's no reason to bring up Oscar Valdez being on some type of substance during this fight, whether the outcome is his victory or his defeat, because both fighters will agree to the VADA test. And this leaves no excuses. Whether you believe Oscar Valdez in the past, for his past fight, whether it was truly something that he took indirectly that messed him up without his knowledge, him not trying to take illegal substances, or whether you don't believe him and you think he was on something to try to gain the advantage, it shouldn't matter for this fight if they both agree to take the VADA test and if they both comply and have good results. Oscar Valdez needs to focus and not get frustrated because of Shakur Stevenson's fighting style, where he hits and runs or punches and then goes in reverse and punches and pulls back, giving little action, just making points throughout the 12 rounds. The key for Oscar Valdez is to focus and not let his frustration get to him. Patience. For Shakur Stevenson, I think what he would want to do during this fight is to probably keep up that safe style that he has, where he punches and pulls back, but he shouldn't be too confident or underestimate Oscar Valdez, because a good solid hit from Oscar Valdez to Shakur Stevenson could definitely end the fight, or at least cause Shakur Stevenson a lot of complications. So I think that would be the key here. Lokoz Boxing, let me know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe and like.